Welcome to the March 27th edition of the B. Andrews Radio Show. It's good to have you along today here on this Tuesday, March 27th. We are coming to you from central Wisconsin. I would say sunny central Wisconsin, but that would be a lie. It is not sunny outside, but it is a balmy 45 degrees today. And we appreciate the much warmer weather than what we have been getting. We've been giving weather. Oh, wow. This is going to be a tough day today. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Eric. And over adjacent to me on the right-hand side of the room is another one of our co-hosts. And that would be Emily. Say hi, Emily.
Hi.
And across the room from me, sitting at the master controls, is the hostess Maximus. And everybody say hello to John. Hi, John. Oh, really, man?
You didn't say John say hello. You said everyone say hello to John.
Okay.
I was letting them say hello.
All right. John, say hi to everyone back.
Hi.
There we go. We got him into the mix here today.
Hello.
What is was that a shout out to somebody specific?
My fiance.
Oh, okay. So that's why.
I didn't say that. Don't just be like, hello, ladies. just don't do that.
I didn't say that, and you also put that in the plural.
Okay, well, go for it. Say to here. I'll give him. And to our special guest listener today, Emily. John says,
hello.
Getting creepy on the show.
That's not creepy. Come now.
That's just as creepy as me saying to the girl sitting behind me at that coffee shop, "Are you doing anything tonight?"
Yeah. Okay. That needs an explanation.
He had an explanation. It was in his hand.
Big, long explanation for the radio listeners.
Go ahead.
So we were in California.
Sacramento.
And the coffee shop we were playing at didn't use any of the advertisements that we had sent them.
Nope,
They
none of our promo.
Just ignored the whole thing. And we're like, well, no one's going to show up if we don't invite them. So we started passing out cards and trying to put up the poster in the window and everything, trying to, get the word out just really quick. Even the baristas there at the coffee shop were like, oh yeah, we're a band. We're playing here tonight. Cool. I didn't hear anything about that. I was like, oh, okay, this is bad.
So we were playing that night. We got there at 2:00 in the afternoon.
So we're trying to drum up a little excitement here, and so we're handing out cards and everything, and Dad turns to one of the tables and just says, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" And the look on the girl's face, he's trying to hand her a card to invite her.
Yeah, she didn't take it either.
To the concert. And the look on her face was, oh no. I'm busy. I've got to go.
Actually, that is what she said to me. No, I'm already busy. And she got up and left the table. Yeah. And if the audience
could... creepy guy hitting on me.
If the audience could see this, John and Emily are sitting behind me just laughing at me.
Oh, yeah. It was hilarious.
Oh, things, I was working hard, man. I was working hard. Anyway, so it's good to have you with us on this 27th day. And like I said, we could use a little sunshine here. We got the cloudy day. I appreciate the 45 degrees outside. We're still trying to melt some stuff here. I came into John's driveway. We record in and around his place.
I don't think we've done any recording around his place. We've always been in it.
Oh, no, that's not true. I have done some recording around John's place. But anyway, so when we came into the driveway today, John still has this big slab of ice across his drive, so we can't get past it. I'm thinking, if you scrape that, young man, we could use the rest of the driveway.
Just drive over it. Don't whine.
You're not doing any more work than you have to, are you?
Yep.
All right. Well, today We want to do a little bit of a shout out for things that are going to be happening this week here in our community. And maybe you've got something going on in your community too. So if you do, don't be afraid. Post what may be going on in your community concerning Easter. Put it on our Facebook page. Let other people know what is going on. Maybe it's something in your community, Easter egg hunt. Maybe it's something going on at your church, like an Easter egg hunt. It's really popular at this time of the year. Do you know how many people are doing Easter egg hunts?
The community Easter egg hunt, I believe, is this Saturday at the community center here in Hancock.
There you go. Hancock Community Center Easter egg hunt. That will be going on. I do know for us, we are going to be having a community Good Friday service at the New Life Assemblies of God Church up in Plainfield, which is just 6 miles north of us. And that will be at 7 p.m. on Friday. So that will be going on. And then at the Hancock Wesleyan Church on Easter Sunday, for those of you that will listen to this and maybe help us get the word out, we have a breakfast that will be going on beginning at 8:30 in the morning until 10 a.m. That'll be when we'll close her down. It's free. It's open to the public. We're not going to charge you for it. What we really do is we want you to come in and just have an Easter breakfast with us and stay for the morning worship service, because we're going to be having a musical, and really looking forward to that. What's that look?
It's not a musical.
It's not?
It's just music.
Well, they'll be singing.
That's what music is.
A cantata is pretty musical.
Yeah.
It is musical. It is not a musical. You can use it as you can use it. Don't use it as a noun. It's not a noun.
Oh my.
But it's a musical.
We do have to sing every word.
Yes, but a musical is a play where the people sing. We're singing a cantata, which is like a big long set of different musical songs.
But we have a narrator.
Oh yeah, I guess not everything is sung.
But if we have a narrator, doesn't that make it more thematic?
No.
Like a musical?
We have a big giant voiceover that sounds like James Earl Jones's son.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have somebody else read it. And so that's what we're looking for. Name of the musical?
At the Cross.
Thank you very much.
I win. Yeah.
You can keep it.
Yeah.
And doing that Sunday morning. So come in to the Hancock Wesleyan Church anywhere between 8:30 and 10 a.m. We grab breakfast, stick around. And we're going to be doing a cantata that morning, a good musical. And we have started a Sunday evening service. That will be at 6 p.m. for those of you that may not be able to get around. It is a contemporary style music and service, very upbeat, a lot of audio visuals, contemporary music, songs that you'll hear on the radio, like at WGNV. That'll be the kind of thing that's going on for Sunday evening. And after we started the day with food, we are going to end the day with food, because after the evening worship on April the 1st, on Easter Sunday, we're going to have an ice cream social afterwards. Yes. So stick around and we'll be dipping some ice cream and having some fun with that and get to know the folks that are coming in during Sunday evening worship. So please be advised. We want you to stay for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I know we're getting plain vanilla, but I also know that we have chocolate syrup.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll have to look and see if we got, I also know that we have strawberry topping. Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
So if you like the traditional strawberries, if you like chocolate syrup topping, or if you just like plain ice cream, that would be good. And we're trying to get loaded up on some cookies and cakes to go along with that. So hey, you come in, you're feeling all good, and when you leave, we'll give you a diabetic coma to head out the door. How's that sound, everybody?
Woohoo! As long as they don't slip into a coma until after they get home.
Oh.
That could be a little dangerous.
30 minutes after you eat, you must leave and go home and have your coma. Do not stay here and do it.
I don't want to be picking any random stranger up out of the sanctuary. Like, come on, dude, you got to go home.
Now we'll just kind of throw a blanket on him. That'll be fine. Sleep it off, guys. Sleep it off.
Coffee. That's what the coffee's for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It
Drive
helps
home.
everyone. Well, we want to change. That's what's going on this week. I'm getting ready to change gears here, so I hope to do it smoothly. No grind and find. There. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think you've
didn't know
ever
you-
ground gears before.
Well,
Confessions. Is that what happened to my last manual shift?
no, that's what just happened to Ben's manual shift.
Okay. Anyway,
I did pretty good.
So you just confessed to grinding Ben's gears here on radio. That's
What's that sound?
if you're gonna laugh,
that's-
just let it out.
I think that's Emily laughing. I think.
John just ground Ben's gears.
Okay, you don't have to repeat it. Just laugh at it. Okay. So, they do, ladies and gentlemen in the listening audience, this is what it's like being a faja to this crew, constantly being laughed at. So anyway,
If you wouldn't say it.
moving right along, we want to get to today's topic. Want to spend a little time with this. And so let me give a couple of minutes to set this up. And this is what we want to talk about. There's a bit of, I don't know if we want to call it a phenomenon happening here in the United States. So follow with me, guys. I think it's been 22, 23 days ago, something like that. There was a shooting in a high school down in Florida. Parkland, and to this day, we call it the Parkland school shooting. And when that happened, there was a lot of terrorizing going on. It was a kid who had been a student of that school, and 17 lives were lost between staff and students, and it was a real tragedy. The perpetrator of that is currently in jail, and there's just going to be more to the court hearing processes are still up and coming. Since that day, there has been several public meetings, several public visual things where the news media has been there so that the whole nation can see that the student body from Parkland wants to get the word out about what has happened to them and have an influence on local, state, and national policy, because one of the marches that they have done has been on their own state capital in Florida. About 10 or 15 days after the incident. So it's been roughly almost 2 weeks ago. And so they wanted to have an influence there. And so just this past weekend, there was another march on, it was either Washington, D.C. or New York. I kind of got that mixed up a little bit and couldn't get a definition of that before we came on the show. But anyway, and so there are literally thousands of these kids that have come together. I mean, it's not the largest of all demonstrations, but nonetheless, another demonstration that has come up. And I've noticed on social media and other places that when there goes to be a discussion about what these kids are demanding, a lot of times what is being said is that, hey, you know what? Be quiet. Let the kids talk. Hey, let's listen to what these kids have to say. Hey, these kids are trying to have an influence on the policy, so you can't criticize them. Just be quiet and listen. This is our future. Let's hear what they have to say. And in a lot of cases, let's follow their advice, because this is the future speaking. Now, I am in no wise today. What we're going to do, remember, this is a no politics zone. And so there is no politics that we're going to talk about today. None whatsoever.
Agreed.
It's not, this isn't what I'm about ready to say, and what I would like for us to contemplate and talk about just a little bit has nothing to do with politics. I'm setting that on the outset. And you're like, well, then what can you possibly talk about about this that is not going to be politically related? And that is this one thought. Why should we abdicate being an adult? And everybody know the word abdicate. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Give over responsibility.
Yeah, to give over your responsibility. Why do we do that for these kids? Why should we do that for these kids? Okay, so that's going to be where we're coming from, and we'll get more into our second segment, which is one of the main reasons why I wanted Emily to be here, because this is going to be a big part of her generation. So get a refill on your drink. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, think about it, and come on back, and we'll talk about it.
You're listening to the B. Andrews Radio Show.
I don't know what I'm doing, but that has never really stopped me before. While I'm on my knees in my gut, I have this feeling you're calling me to something so much more. Well, every time I get this close, I give up before I go too far. This time I'll let nothing stop me. I'll go until I've got no more. So batten down the hatches, say hello to arms, going so much further than I've ever been before. Won't be easy, I don't know what's in store. Even if I stand alone, I'm taking on the world. When it comes to this, Lord, I'm something of an expert. I've been on my knees 100 times before. But this time things are so much different. The man that I was, I ain't no more. Well, every time I get this close, I give up before I go too far. But this time I'll let nothing stop me. I'll go until I got no more. So batten down the hatches, say hello to arms, going so much further than I've ever been before. Won't be easy, I don't know what's in store. Even if I stand alone, I'm taking on the world. So batten down the hatches, say hello to arms, going so much further than I've ever been before. Won't be easy, don't know what's in store. Even if I stand alone, I'm taking on the world.
Welcome back to the second segment of our B. Andrews Radio Show. And when I left, where we had left you, I was talking about the different marches that are happening across the country by the adolescent scene, especially those from the Parkland High School. They've become the voices of these particular marches. But 16 to 18-year-olds out of high school getting together, marching on different places in order to say, listen to us. We know what we want. We're going to stop this violence in our school. And today, like I left it in the last segment, this is still going to be non-political today. What I want to talk about is giving over our responsibility as adults and picking up and letting the adolescents of our culture lead in certain issues and topics. And I'm thinking, is that a good thing? And I had said before we left, I had pointed over to Emily. You guys can't see this. We're sitting here in our studio, but I'm pointing over to Emily and I said, I want your thoughts about this. And right when we went off air, she kind of made a comment about, I'm not John's, but John's 24. So, this is,
yikes.
This is literally a school generation behind you because of your age. Emily just graduated last year, so these are kids that age that she would have just graduated from, gone to school with. They're now the seniors and juniors, and so I wanted to pick these guys' thoughts, being from that generation. I know, being at my age, what I think about it. But you guys, what do you think about it? Would you follow the advice or the push from the generation that is speaking out right now? And hold that, John.
Okay. I have a philosophy. We tend to ask the question how, okay, just to get this out of here. So we look at our people in government, not to be political, but look at our people in government, look at our people in businesses, and we say things like, how could they be so stupid? Why on earth would they make that decision? And I have come to the realization that those people were at once high schoolers, and those high schoolers had friends in high school. And so when you wonder what's wrong in the world and how people can make stupid decisions, just think those people were in high school doing high school things. at one point in time in their lives, and they just never grew out of it.
You mean they never matured?
Yes. I just think about the people that I went to high school with, and I'm like, oh, we're going to put those people in charge of something.
Right, which is where I kind of guess my opinion comes to kind of like a split. Because at one point, I'd be like, shh, no. But at the same time, especially my friend, very mature. And so I would take some advice from them, but it depends on knowing the person. But if you're just going to trust a bunch of kids who are hyped up and mad about something and very, very emotional about what just happened, no, I'm not going to. But they may know what they want, but is what they want really what's best?
Good point. And let's ask ourselves this question. Who, adult or adolescent, who has ever made a good decision under emotional duress? I mean, think about that for a second.
That would have actually been a good place for blank airspace right there.
Nobody makes a good decision under emotional duress. There's always, because of the emotionalism that's always involved, you think emotionally. It's the way we're made. That's just the nature of the beast. So, so when we talk about teenagers making that kind of decision under emotional duress, if we as adults do it, and with the amount of experience that we have, so where are they coming from?
Right, and think about it. We don't trust other adults and other, people of power to make decisions if they're personally involved. They don't let them do that in the military. They don't let them do that. We don't like them to do that. So why are we saying to look at these kids who just went through this, very, very emotional time, personally involved? Why are we saying, let's, see their opinion?
I get that. So let me throw this at you. Now, here's my age group speaking. Okay. Here's the things that bother me.
Older and wiser.
Older.
Quiet now. The sage is going to speak.
Not sure about the wiser. I don't claim to be wise, but I've got scars from things that I've learned. Hopefully I've learned. And that's my point. So being young, there's a huge amount of naivete just because...
Ooh, your French is very good.
Danke.
I was going to say gracias.
There is a point of naivete. It comes because you haven't lived life. You just don't know because you just haven't lived it. It's not a throwing something at them like I'm trying to tell them that they're not worth listening to. They're worth listening to, but there comes a point in time we hear them. Then for the adults that hear need to take back the information and say, what do we do with this? They were there. They experienced it. Their experience is worth something. But at the same time, their experience about the violence that they went through is nowhere near like the experience of somebody who has served 4 tours in Iraq and has had barrels of guns pointed at them and has walked into the building with knowing that there's hostiles that want to shoot and kill them. It is nowhere near the experience of the children who grow up in war-torn Afghanistan or parts of Iran or parts of Syria. I've just seen some of these cities that are ripped out, and there's cities that had tens of thousands of people in them, but a few hundred people have stayed there, and they're still trying to hone out a living. And there's the little children playing in the streets of the rubble while the gunfire's going off 2 streets behind them. And you think, where have they learned to do that? These kids don't have that experience. They don't have the intelligence. Why? They're 16 and 18. There's more life to learn. I'm not calling them stupid. They just haven't lived life. And they think they know what policy should be based on the minimum amount of life that they've lived.
They're also currently going through it. They haven't even made it on the other side of the event yet either.
Do you mean like processing it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Some of them are still, obviously because they're marching and stuff, I still believe that a lot of them are still, trying to, work through it because they're obviously, garnering all this determination to try to do something about it. So it's obviously still affecting them. So like the person who's been held up before or held at gunpoint, or someone who's been through a lot of violence at school, or even just been beat up or something, they've already, people in their 20s or 30s that have already been through even just, little things. Well, little in comparison, I suppose. It's not very little to them.
Yeah, comparisons are so hard to make in
Right.
individual lives. You don't know what everybody's been
Right,
through.
but even on a smaller scale, like that, or something that's happened to them personally, they've already been on the other side of that, and then can have a better rationale about them over the situation. Whereas these kids, I feel like, are still kind of hyped up and going through that, especially since they're all together. Mob mentality kind of is still affecting them.
So real quick, do 15, 16, 17-year-olds, here's my question, do 15, 16, 17-year-olds who have been through a shooter situation, do they have the ability to recommend and demand policy the way that they want it?
Technically, nobody has the ability to demand policy.
Well, you can demand it. That doesn't mean you get it. But what I'm saying is do they have the ability to demand it and get? Because what's a protest? We demand that you change policy to the way we want it. So
Okay, if you're gonna use it like that, I was taking it as, do you actually have the power to demand?
oh
something?
yeah. So do you think that 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds in some cases, should have the voice to demand the policy the way they believe policy should be?
Yes and no. I believe they have the right to share their mind. Good for you. Speak it out. Okay. Now, if I don't agree with you, I'll just stop listening.
Okay. I guess by my demand means that we listen to them. Their policies are going to be
Technically, that would technically be a political question, because politically they don't actually have the right to vote or anything.
I'm looking at culturally.
Culturally, no, because we don't respect them as citizens old enough to actually vote yet. So, technically, no.
Well, the media is still giving them voice, so that their opinions could be pushed for consideration. And I think it's okay to listen, because obviously you can garner information whether you take them, wholly at what they think or not. But it is good because you can still, someone wise enough know what they're doing can still garner information out of the experiences they've had. Like, well, obviously these people had trouble here during the situation, so we need to improve that. Or this thing went wrong here, we can definitely improve that, sort of thing.
All right. So at the end of the day, what are we really getting then? We've got thousands of students that have marched on the capital of Florida, Tallahassee. We've got thousands of students that have marched in I thought it was our nation's capital or whatever. Anyway, demanding the big rally, singers, all this other kind of stuff, demanding. But at the end of the day, 14 through 18 years old, unless their birthday changed at the right time, they don't even have the ability to cast a vote. So the idea that we're listening, that's good, but all in all, it means nothing. Not only do they not have the ability to change the people who will listen to them, but really they don't understand the courtesy that has been handed to them, that we've even stopped to listen, because they have no authority in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that would be like with any protest. So really, I'm not sure you're going to... I have seen some things culturally that have been swayed, but for the most part, the people that want their rights to be like this are going to stay on this side of the aisle, and the people that want
political, don't get political.
It's really hard to stay away from that. But where the cultural, I'll just say it this way, where the cultural divide sits on this issue, it's not going to sway very much, because the people that believe the way they believe, they truly believe it. It doesn't really matter.
Well, now let's get at the heart of what I'm trying to get at here. Let me go biblical, because remember, we're told in the Bible, Paul has this young kid. Actually, he was a man, but nonetheless, he was young, and he had been taught and was going into the ministry, and he was told, hey, don't let anybody despise your youth. You get in there and you get your voice heard, and you preach and you teach for Jesus Christ. Now, I just crossed a lot of lines with that, but I want to stay to the concept, and let me finish that when I get back. So refill your cups. And here's the main point. Talk about it when we get back. Hey, if you want to be a part of the show, connect with us on Twitter at @BAndrewsBand, all lowercase, BANDREWSBAND, or IM us at Facebook by going to B Andrews. That's first name B, B-E, last name Andrews, ANDREWS.
Don't give the rocks a chance. Come on, let's sing and dance and capture the rapture alone. Lost in the spirit, sweetest sound to you are God and King. All the praise will bring, lifting up our voices to sing. Love for our
Welcome back to our third and final segment of the B. Andrews radio show. This is going to be a little bit of a rapid fire segment that we're going to do here. We want to wrap up what we're talking about and give you a little good news to go home with. So, but as we left, I was talking about something that is a biblical principle, and that biblical principle is that those of us who are older, Paul was writing to Timothy, and he uses this phrase about don't let the elders despise your youth. That's a really loose paraphrase.
That's very loose.
But the idea, the concept that is there is that we have young people that are being trained. They're learning things. They're wanting to experience life. They're wanting to throw their hat into the ring of adulthood, and as adults, we should give them some room and some voice to come in. How will they get experience to know and to become better and greater and handle better responsibility? So that's one of the things that Paul is telling, but it's really funny. It's not to the elders that Paul is talking to. Hey, let these kids in and do some things. It's Paul specifically talking to Timothy, telling him, hey, don't let that happen to you. You know, you're going to get some blowback. And there's lots of reasons why, because there's going to be adults that won't like to take direction from younger people. There's going to be some adults that don't want to get out of the way and let younger people come in and do things. There's going to be some adults that just have an awful lot of pride and are going to say, you know, why should I listen to you? But there's a big difference between listening to a younger person and as opposed to letting them have the reins of leadership and make decisions. And that's what I kind of wanted to get to today at this particular cultural shift. Can cultural shifts happen this fast? 22, 23 days? Would you call it a cultural shift or just a phenomenon, cultural phenomenon?
No, something more has to happen for it to actually be a cultural shift.
I would call it more like the latest gossip, the newest story they're all blowing up because they want to make it an issue. Okay.
And not to get into the political side of what's happening, but it is being allowed. It is getting news coverage, and it's being allowed to happen. And so we want to make sure that we're on the right balance here. And that balance is, hey, guess what? They're kids. They've been through it, and they're old enough to say, hey, we went through this. We'd like to say something about it and listen to us say something about it. And for that, I would have to say, I think we should. Would you guys agree?
I agree with
Don't
that.
nod your head. They can't hear your brain
Yeah,
rattle.
I would agree.
Okay. But on the other side, my problem that I'm having is that people are saying, hey, shut up. Let these kids talk. We need to listen to them and take their advice. To that, I say,
Well,
whoa, Nelly.
And you've used the idea of Timothy, but Timothy wasn't 16 or 17 when he was leading that church.
True, but he also was not considered elder age either. So, take that in consideration. He was a youth, very, very specifically called out for that.
He wasn't that young.
No, he was, but not considered to be of elder age, that leadership age. He was still under that. So obviously, this young man was gifted, that Paul was talking about. So, my point is that, not going to take advice from it. We'll listen to you. You were there, there's things that maybe we can learn. And so we're going to have to take the posture of maybe we can learn something. So shut up and listen to them. Maybe there's something that they know because of being in that situation that we really don't and haven't thought of.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. If you're still using that Timothy reference, who was it that was writing to give advice to Timothy? It was Paul, the older person in Christ. In fact, he refers in the book of Timothy, he refers to him as his son in that book. So they had a very special relationship, but you still have that sort of older mentoring mentality looking toward to help the younger come up into power.
Yeah, but even if they're going to listen to the kids and listen to what advice they think they're going to spew, like with anybody, they should definitely take it with a grain of salt. Consideration, but that doesn't necessarily make it good advice.
Well, correct. Because as adults, there should be some things that we know that the kids don't. It comes from age. It comes from living. Hey guys, we know what you want, but you haven't lived enough life to understand why things are a little bit different. I heard a news commentator the other day had mentioned that this is the very proof of their immaturity because they're giving simple answers to things that are incredibly complex. And by doing that, it automatically says, obviously, you guys think you know, but obviously, because you can't seem to give some complex solutions, you don't understand how complex the situation really is. So anyway, hey, tell us what you think. Let us know about this discussion today, what you think about it. Post it on our Facebook right underneath this topic, underneath this radio show. But we've ended time for our discussion because we want to leave you with something that we call good news.
Well, it's time for a little good news, and let the sun shine through for me and you with some good news. Okay, our good news comes from the Chicago Tribune. After 23 years in prison as an innocent man, former White Sox groundskeeper returns to his old job. Right? Chicago. Nevist Coleman looked around the Chicago White Sox ballpark in wonder as he walked down the third base line. Flanked by colleagues Harry Smith and Jerry Powell, Coleman marveled at how much the stadium had changed since 1994 when he last worked for the team. As he took in the sights, legendary head groundskeeper Roger the Sodfather Bossard came over and embraced Coleman in a quick hug. I saved your spot for you, Bossard said. I knew you'd be back. And he told him, just remember, I'm counting on you to help me with that tarp, too. I'm ready, Coleman replied. Coleman's first day back at work Monday couldn't be more remarkable. He'd been on the White Sox groundskeeping crew in 1994 when he was charged with a heinous rape and murder. He spent the next 23 years behind bars until DNA evidence last November led prosecutors to vacate Coleman's conviction, leading to his freedom. A Cook County judge granted him a certificate of innocence this month, clearing his name. Soon after, the White Sox agreed to give him his old job back, helping Coleman realize a dream he often discussed in prison. Local and national news reporters waited for Coleman's return at 7 a.m. Smith stood outside the stadium, too, waiting for his old friend. As Coleman approached Gate 4 at Guaranteed Rate Field, Smith remarked, He got a little fatter, but that's him. The two men hugged one another and went inside, where Coleman, Smith, and Powell shared a private moment in the tunnel leading to the field. Back in the 1990s, the three men worked together on the grounds crew. Prosecutors pushed for Coleman to receive the death penalty after his trial in 97, but a long line of character witnesses stood up for him at his sentencing hearing, including the three White Sox employees. You want to talk about something that speaks to his innocence? When you can get that many people to line up and say, he didn't do this.
Yeah.
He's got some good friends.
Good friends.
Smith and Powell remain, while the other no longer works for the team. Powell is now Coleman's supervisor. Glad to see him out. Glad to see him back, Powell said. I'm so happy for him, me and the White Sox. From the time he left high school, Coleman said he's been on the job. He always wanted to be independent. I don't like to ask anybody for anything, Coleman told the Tribune last week, a point he emphasized again Monday. Even while incarcerated, Coleman kept working, including a job making socks. Still, he particularly enjoyed his time with the Sox, and he considered it a family. I'd wake up in the morning proud to go to work, Coleman said Monday. A lot of times you get people who get jobs, who go to work, you be like, I don't want to go. Here, I loved it. His Monday morning included a flurry of interviews. He sat in the home dugout talking to reporters. At times, Coleman gazed at the giant advertisements, billboards, and television in the outfield, amazed by the changes. Reflecting on his newfound freedom, Coleman said, "You get tired sitting around the house." "You won't be sitting here," Smith replied. After about an hour reuniting with his friends, Coleman changed into a yellow rubber suit. He put on gloves and goggles, then headed outside, where Power handed him a power washer to spray the ground clean. The fairy tale return for Coleman was set in motion by friends and loved ones after he left prison in November, speaking of his plans after release. Coleman often mentioned the White Sox. "I want to sit back for a while, get to know my family, and when the time comes around, go back to Kaminsky Park," Coleman recalled saying. The White Sox heard this story, then invited him to the 35th and Shields for a job interview. To Coleman's delight, the team agreed to bring him back. "We're grateful that after more than 2 decades, justice has been carried out for Nevist," the team said in a statement. "It has been a long time, but we're thrilled that we have the opportunity to welcome back to the White Sox family. We're looking forward to having Nevist back on opening day at home in our ballpark." The Reverend William Vanaco, Coleman's attorney Russell Ainsworth, and a cousin Richard Coleman were instrumental in making Nevist Coleman's wish come true. Ainsworth said he reached out to share Coleman's story through a relative who works in White Sox ticketing. Vanaco knew Coleman from his days at Visitation Church in Inglewood, down the block from where the Coleman family home. The retired Catholic priest called the White Sox and told them about Coleman. Vanaco said he wanted to ask, "Do you think you can give him 23 years seniority for the time he missed?" But he bit his tongue. Coleman's cousin Richard also called the team. His first wish, before he wished for a hamburger, was to work for the White Sox. That's funny. Richard Coleman said, "That's exactly what I told him. The White Sox that Coleman knew in 1994 have changed." The ballpark changed names from Kaminsky Park to U.S. Cellular Field and is now Guaranteed Rate Field. Seats are green instead of blue. The franchise lopped off several rows from the upper deck. There's ivy on their center field backdrop and a bar in the right field. Frank Thomas, the league MVP when Coleman last worked for the Sox, went into the Hall of Fame in 2014. Ozzie Guillen, sorry, I don't know how to say that name, and Robin Ventura, stars on the field when Coleman was incarcerated, each went on to manage the White Sox. Guillen led the team to the 2005 World Series. Coleman remembers hearing a roar in his cell that October. "I go, what's going on?" he said. "The White Sox won," Coleman recalled, feeling happy for the team and city. Since coming out of prison, he has stayed true to his word. He spent the past 4 months bonding with his 4 siblings, 2 children, and 3 grandchildren, Shania, Harmony, and Nyla. Now, he's here to be back with the Sox as part of the grounds crew.
Awesome, awesome story. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up from there, running a little short on time, but we want to invite you back next Tuesday for the B. Andrews Radio Show and leave some comments. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.